everyone. Again, another episode. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Today we have another guest, Samir, all the way from US. Samir, how are you?
Doing good, Julio. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for joining us today and tell us a bit about your story. So, Samir, how do you characterize yourself? I mean, to people who actually don't know you that well, how would you characterize who is Samir?
I think when I think of who Samir is someone that is a go-getter, right? Someone that doesn't give up, that's always been looking for ways to maximize the time that we have on Earth. Once you start going through life, you realize how fast it goes by. And so
Sure.
for me, I've always wanted to maximize my time here. So if I strip away the other things like the professional background and business and everything that I've done, I look at someone that just perseveres and someone that doesn't give up. And so for me, that's the big thing when I think of who's Samir. He's that guy. He just doesn't give up.
Wonderful. I'm glad you joined the actual circle. I mean, I do admire people who are like that. We need more people like that because it's actually needed in this society today. I mean, it's not about trying to build things as an idea, but the point is to make them reality, right? And you achieved a lot of things within your current organization. So tell us a bit about how all this started for people to understand, what was the insight of all this, what you guys do in your current organization. And first of all, you can tell the full name of your organization and what you guys do in general there. Sure.
So, so we have two companies. We have Freedom Family Office, which is our multifamily office, and then we have Wealthrive, which is our sister consulting company. And both
Sure.
of those work hand in hand. Our family office is for multi-generational entrepreneurs. So we serve the risk takers, the business owners that are worth at least 10 million or making between at least 1 to 5 to in some cases $10 million of income a year. And this is a boutique family office that manages their wealth, manages their finances, helps sort of plan for the future, helps with the planning of an exit of a business. It's
Sure.
really all the services you would get within an RIA, a registered investment advisory, and one boutique family office. So really tailored, sort of intimate, focused advice, not like a JP Morgan where there's thousands and thousands of reps. WealthThrive, the sister company, is our specialty niche. Our specialty niche is tax strategy. So we think of the same way if you had a heart issue, you wouldn't go to your general physician. You would likely go to your cardiologist. Cardiologist is someone that can actually look and diagnose that specially. And so for
Yeah.
us, we are the cardiologist for tax strategy. You come to us as an entrepreneur when you want someone that's going to help you develop your tax strategy. So many business owners, entrepreneurs, even people that make a lot of money have no idea how taxes work, and they think they're just supposed to do the same thing every year and that their CPA just checks a few boxes. But tax is a strategy in itself. And so that sister company has sort of been on the rise. It branched
Right.
off from the family office being part of the tax support. So we're a very tax efficient, tax focused firm with having that sister business.
Wonderful. And Samir, how all this started? I mean, was something that you had an idea since you were a child, or something that just came up by coincidence? You just start the whole career there.
I think it had to do with how I grew up. My family came here from the Middle East, from Jordan,
Right.
right before, I think it was about 6 months or a year before I was born, and so they had me here, and we came from extremely humble beginnings.
Yeah.
I think at some point between my uncle, my mom, my dad, and my uncle's kids, there was maybe 5 or 6 of us at some point in a one-bedroom apartment, and this was in the suburbs of Chicago. Um,
Right.
I watched how my parents sacrificed everything to work. And as I got older, given my uncles and the business mindset they have, I was always curious about finance. So my uncle had a liquor store in Chicago, right by University of Chicago. And early
Okay.
on, I would go visit. I would be super curious about the finance business. So how much do you pay for the steak? So you get it from here, you bring it here. What's the profit for the customer? How do you actually make money? I've always been so curious about how to make money. What's the profit? And it sort of led my mind to understanding business. And those questions led to more questions, which led to the podcast, which led to my professional career. And continuously being curious is what sort of got me to this position now where, hey, the curiosity is what got me in the role where we're at today.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, if you were to say what was the most insightful thing during your career, what it would be, and how did you manage to encourage maybe sometimes some situations because they can be complex. I mean, tax can be very complex architecture sometimes. How do you overcome it, and how do you advise people in general to do it in such way?
Look, I think tax is such a complex thing that you need to have the right team in place. And our team
Right,
is an expert team of accountants, lawyers, financial planners that have studied the tax code. Our founder, Noah, started this company as a third generation CPA. So when you think of someone that's three generations of CPA and accounting and tax, the philosophy that he's developed is the expertise that we've taken on our team. And we're a bunch of nerds. Like we are just nerds that love what we do and passionate about what we do. And so that shows in the work. You can't if you love it and you have these generations of it, it shows with how
sure.
you do your work. I'd say for us, we've developed a multidisciplinary approach through a three-step process that has allowed us to be extremely efficient regarding the tax program that we do.
You obviously you work internationally also, I would believe, and how do you combine international regulation with national regulation, and how does it all kind of work together? Let's just say.
So we've had actually our family office is only taking US clients, and for tax strategy we have clients that might have multiple domiciles living internationally. We
Right.
focus right now just on their tax strategy in the US. We might help sort of give them advice on how they're looking at the wealth transfer and estate planning if they have a home in London or a home in India or a home in wherever it
Right.
might be. We'll help with the estate planning, but right now the tax strategy is focused just in the US because our expertise is the US tax code. Because it's a good question that you're asking. Your question is the tax code is already extremely complex, which we value
Yes.
complexity. So how are
Right.
you going to add into like the tax code in Mexico or the tax code in UK? And so that's why for us we haven't branched off into doing tax strategy in other countries because I believe also we'd want to bring in experts in those countries that would be part of that team, and we haven't branched off there yet. Other than the fact that our clients are from all over the world.
Right. Right. Amazing. You're thinking in going international, or you just
I think eventually the plan is how can we get at least the family office to go international with the clients that we take on, because we have clients that are from countries everywhere. But for the tax strategy, we really like our focus in the US.
right. Right.
That's our
How
specialty.
how is the actual legacy of these tariffs are affecting, for example, your customers? I would believe a lot. I mean, I can see the impact in Europe. Does it really have the actual impact in US or not?
So yeah, we have some clients, the clients specifically that do a lot of exporting from overseas are seeing an impact. So we have a client that a large part of their business is exporting these products from China that they do
Right.
on Shopify and TikTok Shop here, and they've seen those margins get crunched since the tariffs. And
Yeah.
so the questions are becoming is how do you make more of your goods here in the U.S. because the tariffs are eating into that revenue. And so I've seen at least a couple of our clients that are being impacted by that, and even people that aren't clients that we've spoken to that could potentially become clients having to even pause the idea of working with us because they want to figure out what's going to happen with the tariffs. We actually had someone that was close to working with us, but given the uncertainties of the tariffs and how much they're forecasting they're going to have to spend now with those increased costs, they don't feel like investing in the money manager and the tax strategist.
Right.
So
Right.
there's definitely an impact.
Do you have any advice for this at the current moment? How people should, overcome the part of the tariffs? Is that a way? Let's just say.
I think to overcome the part of the tariffs is one. This is a good time to look at your P&L and look at your margins. So on whatever you're selling, whatever business you're in, if your margins, I'm making this up, are 25%, and now given the tariffs and when your main product is coming, maybe your margins are down to 14 or 15%. This is a
Yeah.
good time to explore profitability on lower margins. So if you can have more cash on hand, audit your balance sheet. This is the time where you try to make a healthier balance sheet. So you look at what do you need? And I'd say one of those areas is investing more into AI. Believe it or not, like having the right infrastructure and technology can reduce your cost in other areas. If you reduce the cost in other areas, hopefully that's going to help your bottom line with the margins on that. And then obviously the other thing is wherever you are, the tariffs are incentivizing, at least for US, for internationally, it might be a little different. For US business owners, they're incentivizing you to make your products in America. And so, developing a strategy to not just rely on one country for your product, which is a good thing to do regardless of tariffs, because you never know.
It can be. The thing is, when you have a circle of community for over 20 years, let's just say, and you rapidly change it like that, I think it can
It's
be,
tough. It's tough.
yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not easy.
So, and doing this, how will you overcome, a lot of the situations that come through you? What would be your advice to other fellow people that do similar work as you in your sector? And I mean, how do you actually have a strategy to overcome, each situation as it comes?
When you say that, do you mean more so on just life in general or for like the strategy?
The
Or
strategy, and of course that affects in life because that's time. Of course, sometimes when you dedicate to strategy, you put time and effort put into, yeah.
yeah, for me, I live by this. So I have one of the mentors that I got to learn from is this gentleman named Ed Milet, who's great, has a book called The Power of One More. Highly recommend everyone
Okay.
read it. And it's this idea of, when things are not going right, of showing up for one more. So showing up for one more day, one more meeting, one more podcast, one more, I know you, Julio, you have many businesses. I looked at your background. We should be interviewing you with all the stuff you're doing. You got so much going on, but I'm sure you understand that, like, you have to show up daily. You have to do one more interview. You have to
Yeah,
meet one more relationship, and
yeah,
that's how I look at it. So making sure you're not quitting for one more day when things hit the fan, because it's so easy to say, you know what, this is not working anymore. But showing up is half of it, and doing that every day. And it's not showing up with your 9-month goals, your 12-month goals. Steve Jobs had a framework where he talked about, setting these short-term goals. So if you set these 30, 60, 90, I'm going to show up for the next 30 days. I'm going to
yeah.
do one podcast every single day, and let's just see where that gets me. So it's little things, a framework like that, as opposed to looking at, I got to solve for all this now. So in short term, micro, that's how I kind of look at it.
Sure, sure. Is it very tough sometimes, the work we do, and is it possible to overcome it? I mean, for example, you have passed through certain situations that was very complex. You know how to do it. So in the future, of course, if it comes to a similar situation, you already know how to overcome it because you already had the solution before, of course. But when it comes as new, what is your real strategy according to each customer?
I think when it comes as new in our industry, you actually can use history not to predict the future, but to give you some insights. And the example I'll give you
Right.
is during COVID, that was the first time. No one's ever seen something like that before. Like, it was
Yeah.
crazy everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, our experts and our CIO and our family office, they saw the markets. The markets dropped about 40%, but the markets also dropped pretty close to that level back in 2008. And so the idea here is, hey, I don't think COVID is going to destroy the world forever. I think there's going to be a better tomorrow, but obviously people are freaking out when they see those things. And so it's coaching them through that. So in that situation, it's understanding that if you believe in the economy and the future of the free world, then this might be a hiccup for now, but there is going to be another side of this to success. So it's understanding it is using a little bit of history, because you need some of that for the belief for the future. But to your point, sometimes you deal with stuff that you've never seen before. And COVID is that example. I mean, the last time
Yeah.
there was something like that was 1929. So,
Exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
you're totally right. Yeah. And this is where human beings tend to react. They didn't realize because people sometimes say, that's not possible. There's nothing impossible. It's just a matter when the solution, I mean, when the actual situation comes to you, you figure
yes,
out the solution. It's just a
agreed.
matter you don't predict it because we not predict the future. For example, something can happen tomorrow. I might not be here. I mean, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, it's an unfortunate story, but I mean, what I
right.
mean is that people don't think or overthink too much.
Yes.
You won't predict the future. You can make common sense situations. You can make common sense relation regarding what you have and what you might have in 1 month or 1 year or 5 years, depending what exactly it is, if it doesn't change the structure very much. But don't overthink things like, oh, I have to know exactly what it's going to be. You don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
don't do it like that, because that will overstress you unnecessarily. Because if I ask a person, said, do you know what you're going to eat for breakfast in 1 week? Of course not. So it's the
No.
same situation. That's the relation how you have to deal with real life and in work, because you just need to, as it comes, you will find the solution. So
Like,
that's what I always say to people.
that was
The,
really,
the
really.
other part, as you all mentioned, is when people see, well, I'm taking too long, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Well, when that happens, you have to take it as, that route wouldn't take you to the actual solution where you wanted to get. So take it as extra experience. So in the future, you won't have any regrets, because that's extra knowledge you have. So that if that happens again, you know how to solve it fastly, because it's already happened. So this is the point too. I think the two criteria mostly you can be using general for any sector, which I always tell people how to implement it. Let's just say, to make faster and smoother life. In the
Yeah.
end, that's all it is, right? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
I think your thesis is around how you can live a happier life, because if you're what I take from that is there's always something to stress about if you find it. Like, I
Yeah,
could, for this interview, I can stress about what if the StreamYard link doesn't work? What if Julio doesn't show up? What if this? What if there's you know? There's so many things we can stress about,
yeah,
and it's important to optimize for the positives. How many times does someone think like the opposite? Like, do you ever hear someone really think on the positive? Like, what if the podcast goes too good? Like, what if we make too much money this year? You never hear someone go the opposite and ask those questions, which
yeah,
is the thing. Like, what if we did that? What if we increased revenue by 40% this year, instead of saying what happens if this? And I think part of it comes back to how aligned you are within your purpose. And so for us, people sometimes ask, what makes your family office different? Every money manager manages money. And the big thing for us is this idea of rich beyond money. If you study our founder, you study all of us, we talk about this idea of becoming rich beyond money, because money is just the metric. Money is not necessarily the end goal. And so our clients, we push them to focus on becoming rich beyond money. What does rich beyond money mean? What is my time like with my family? What is my mindset like? Am I healthy mentally, spiritually, physically? One of the
yeah,
most eye-opening things for me is always reading sort of in Steve Jobs' last days. You're talking about a guy who founded Apple, you
yeah.
know, we're all using it in some way. And even in his
And
last,
with a very dramatic story, actually, because in the end, people did try to steal his image and his work, and then come back, and that's how unfortunate our society actually is. When you see a guy, and this is, I'm telling in general, I take the opportunity to tell in general to everyone. When you see a person that is extraordinary, you should push it up, not try to pull it down. And this is the unfortunate part of this society. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. Why people should have I mean, the guy is doing a lot for people. He
agreed.
invented, he remarked the brand, he made beautiful designs that no one actually imagined in his life in doing it. He done it, So
He did it.
this is the kind of thing that people mismatch the actual representation of a person. And he was really humble people, because in the end, all it really focuses on himself and what he was doing. He didn't actually care about whoever was doing outside of his brand, or he always cared about the people and how to do things. And in the end, the market and the people mismatch the representation of what he was doing. And this is, it's unfortunate, right? I mean, you just give some of the examples, and this is what I would say to people: say, you should learn from a person like that. You should, take the idea and implement it within whatever you're doing with that same spot and same mindset, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm totally aligned with you.
Within your current strategy, what are your plans for, let's say, within this year or next year? Are you planning to expand? Are you planning to maintain current customers? So, what is your alignment?
I think our big thing is one, within our customer acquisition is how can we retain clients, right? So bringing
Right.
the value is great initially. We have a really great model coming in, but now how is it retaining clients for the future lifetime value, and making sure that they're getting the best experience? And part of that strategy we're looking at very seriously is technology. And now obviously you're hearing, I'm sure you've done so many amazing podcasts. You have a ton of followers, so I'm sure in the last 10 podcasts, I guarantee AI, the word has come up in some way. And so
Yeah.
tech, but that's the thing now. Those are happening in conversations. And if you kind of are not getting involved in AI within your business, you're going to be left behind. And right
Right.
now, we're looking really seriously on technology and AI. So as I look at finishing 2025 and the rest of 2026, I'm looking at coaching my team on AI, looking at how we can use all the technologies. I'm literally spending so much time myself playing with different AI tools. I mean, some of it is silly, like making like images out of a banana and all these things that have nothing to do with finance. it's
Yeah.
it's it's fascinating because you have to learn it. So that's a big part for us.
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely right. It's like the train passing by, and you gotta catch it because
Yes,
that's going to be the real future. And through AI, you have thousands and thousands of diversity of technology coming through it.
absolutely.
Especially doing automated work or uh, builded work or even strategy itself. You can automate some parts of strategy.
Yeah,
So definitely. People should get a lot involved in AI. It doesn't matter what you do because it will help you. If you
yeah,
are a designer, it will help you to perfect your image. If you
yeah,
are a doctor, it will help you in somehow how to perfect your movements or the way you work. It doesn't matter what you do, it will help because he can do any AI actually. He can do thousands of calculations in milliseconds or seconds, which the human brain cannot do, and that will help you then in strategy. Um, what I do advise is don't overdo it. I mean, it's like you still need to continue to think with your brain. It's not like, no, I don't need to think, the AI is going to do everything. No, it's not meant to be like that either. I always say not 8 or 80, something in between. Yes, it's there, supposed to help you, but to develop your ideas faster, not to create your own ideas and put it in place. This is what I meant to say it. And I see it a lot out there that people are actually overdoing AI, creating things that then they don't actually know what they are creating because they don't understand. So that's not the purpose of that.
yes,
It is what it is. If you're telling me, should AI do all automated work? No, because there's a lot of people worldwide that are actually doing that work. It should be done, for example, let's talk about an example to create the cure of cancer. So we can do millions of calculations, how to calculate all the patterns and all the patterns, and how they can combine possibly, and you have possibly a list or a small list of composition that you can start trying out in the lab that can work. So for that, I would definitely advise because the calculation is going to save you a lot of time.
right.
Or to calculate, thousands of accounts. If you imagine you have 1 million accounts, you need to calculate 1 million accounts in 5 minutes. Of course, for that, AI. That's definite, but AI should be write me a letter to this person.
Right? Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
So yeah, and we see this a lot. For example, even for small text now in social media, it's done through AI. I mean, why don't you write it yourself? I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy work. In the end.
You use the human touch, and you can tell when it's AI.
Yeah. Exactly, exactly. So, in your work, are you actually using AI to perform with?
So I would say a couple ways. One, in our sales and marketing, we're using AI to be able to grade meetings with our prospects. So we
Right.
can take a meeting from a prospect and we can grade how we did. The AI will be the coach. Say, hey, you did this good, you didn't do this good, you talked too much here. This is what you got to do better. and it can compare it to other prospects. That part is cool. Um, we're using it to proofread things. We're using it to create marketing material. Like it can make full-on cinematic type commercials and clips. And then we're using it to help develop within PowerPoints. And then within understanding situations, we can take a lot of data to understand a client situation better from an onboarding perspective. Now, you have to be really careful with AI. We're not using AI to say put a client's information in there because our type of work is so sensitive.
Yeah.
But you can use AI to build modules to look at templates and say, hey, this is a profile that someone makes this amount of money in New York or California, and this is what we have to look at in certain situations and certain strategies that apply. So AI can do that. Another thing we'll do is if we get a 40-page research paper, like for an investment that comes in, someone wants us to look at, that could take a while. AI can summarize the bullet points for us in 20 to 30 seconds. I mean,
Yeah.
the value of AI is the time saver. It's not necessarily about, writing letters to your high school crush in Chat GPT, right? It's more so
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
value of
Yeah.
the time saving aspect. So yeah, those are just a few ways.
Absolutely. And as you well mentioned, it saves you time. Time in the end, it's money and also time saved that you can spend doing other things, as your personal life too. So this is all I always say. There has to be a balance. Sometimes I don't have it because I think went over in too many things at the same time, and now I cannot stop it. But that's not a thing that I actually advise to everyone to do, because in the end you get some damage out of it, in time, because you don't have time to other things. For example, some days, I can tell you strictly that I can work maybe 18 hours a day. Is that advisable? No, it's not. But what can I do? It's the matter that you need to have a proper strategy. And I'm giving the advice that I should have done when all this started. Um, and I didn't actually done it, back then. And today, I see myself, yes, in some days doing 16, 18 hours a day. And of course, that's not advisable. Can I save more time out of it? In some things, maybe I can save maybe a couple of hours using AI, but
Yeah,
not everything. So it all depends how your strategy. So what is my conversation today is you have to make up a strategy before you start it. You need to make a balance out of it, saying, I'm getting into this. How much time would I have for myself if I start this in this way?
sure.
Or how can it be optimized? How can it be changed? So this way you don't have a surprise in the future saying, hey, I came to the office at 7 a.m. and I got off at 10 p.m. How ridiculous.
Yeah. How did that happen, right? What type of business are you doing? Because I know you're working sometimes 18 hours a day. You have an
So,
11
I
practice. What
mean,
do you?
it all started. I mean, I have a background, senior background in telecom and banking, from the operational point of view. And after that, I started my own group, and because I already had a connection with a portfolio with customers, so when I started my own group, I started to get involved in everything. So we started energy, technology, and we started building services in practically in all sectors, even agriculture lately, a couple of years ago. So, of course, when you do something like that in a strategy that involves a lot of countries, because we're already present in many countries right now, of course, it takes time because you need to coordinate everything. You need to see how the strategy is. Was the strategy correctly implemented? How is it overcoming? Monthly reports, weekly reports, daily reports, and you need to read them all. So, in the end you count the time, and I mean, actually no one can actually do it like that. I can resume them, but I still need to read them to overcast them. Is it the strategy is correct? I need to change something, or what can be changed and what should be changed? But for that I need to make an evaluation. Of course, that evaluation needs to take time of yourself for you to read, to think, and see if it's all that goal was actually accomplished, what we were trying to achieve. So this comes behind, with the previous point that I think of. When you do something like that, make sure that you have the proper strategy in place, because in the end, you see that you spend more than 12 hours in the office, and I don't think that's recommendable. And this is how I started, because I started to get involved in one thing, and then the other, and then it came like a domino effect from customer to customer, going through one to one, and then in the end, the portfolio went too big, and that's how it is. It comes to a point that I couldn't stop it. So, and this is the real life story. When you get involved in a lot of stuff, make sure that you have the proper strategy in place according the time period, from no more than 8-10 hours that you should do daily.
Yeah, and again,
I had.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was going to say again, you're. I'm hearing you talk about the time, and again, it goes back to our philosophy of being rich beyond
Yeah,
money. When we sit down with our
yeah,
clients, we literally talk about part of that is like this time calculation. How much time do you want to spend with your kids? How much time do you want to spend on vacation? How much time do you want to spend with yourself, with just your life goals outside of just the business? And again, it goes back to rich beyond money, because you can be rich, well, you can actually not be rich beyond money, because all you're doing is what you just said, doing 20 hours a day and burning
yeah,
out, and your health, and not seeing your kids grow up. And so that's why we stress so much at our family office, rich beyond just money.
yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely correct, and that's where you should have a real strategy before you start. Before you start, because once you started, I mean, of course, you cannot stop it because it goes with image, reputation, etc. So you need to accomplish it. So, and you need to give your word and be honest and continue to do your work accordingly. But
Yes.
have in mind that will take time from you, and it's unavoidable. For example, I can tell you, on the last 17 years, I think I still have a record on Tripit. So I use an app called Tripit. It's not advertisement, I graduate, because I don't have nothing to do with them. I just use it for personal use. So I use Tripit to monitor all my trips, and I can tell you, over the last 17 years, I have 1.4 million kilometers traveled just by airplane to
Well,
53 countries and over 128 cities.
borderless consulting.
Yeah, yeah. So how did it all started? Well, it started like that. You go to one point, to point A to point B, then you lose track of what you do because you want to say yes to everyone. Don't do that.
Of course.
Don't do that. Don't do that. That's really the wrong strategy. I'm telling you from my own skin, because that's the way I did it. Because everyone then start to call you now. People know you very well, even from before already, so they know, oh, this guy can do this. So and in the end, so I received a lot of calls every day, and I didn't want to say no to anyone. So that's the other part of it. So because I say yes to everyone, and then I start strategy in different countries. So I saw myself, for example, in 2023 alone, to be in 9 countries in the same year, and have over 200 trips in that year,
Wow.
specifically just in that year.
Wow.
Uh, so, I mean, if you contabilize what was my personal time, I remember once that I actually went out to dinner and I had a cigar by myself for half an hour. For me, it was really, I mean, that half an hour for me, it felt like it was a full week.
Yeah.
It's like 30 minutes a week. So this is a kind of example that, is it healthy? No, it is not. I mean, it's not like trying to dramatizing or put it bad in
Right.
such way, but it's it's a matter that now I have to continue what I did because from the beginning the strategy grew too much, and now it cannot be stopped. So that's the main part of it. So my advice to everyone is, whatever you're doing, see your proper strategy within the market you want to reach. And as according you grow, you should optimize your time to see, do I really want to do that? Do I not want to do that? What I want to sacrifice, not what I want to sacrifice. And of course, it's important to have a team of trust, because you cannot grow and you cannot go to foreign countries and have different types of operation if you don't have the right team in place. That's the second phase. So, and this is actually the most important, because you will not be everywhere. It's not possible. It's not possible. So if you don't have the proper person in each position, in each place, and in each country, for example, in this case, then don't do it. That's the final advice, because I had experiences from both ways. I had experience that for things that happened, that I had to physically stop and overcome it. And then I thought, this is unnecessary. This has happened because I didn't put the right person in place. So
Yes.
this is what I always say. I mean, yes, it's important to have a strategy, but also to overload, to a sudden range, you definitely need to have the right people around you. The right people does not necessarily mean that they need to know everything. Just a matter you can trust them. Whatever they need to talk, they can be teach along the way, and they can learn things how they are. But trust cannot be taught. It has to come from the person itself. And this is
Agreed.
a very dramatic thing that I learned because I didn't have the time to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
That's
you
so
don't
good.
have the time, you cannot evaluate a person. You cannot see, you cannot see a person just doing an interview for 45 minutes. You
Yeah.
cannot evaluate a person, just for two or three reference that the person has. So, and this is important. You,
Yeah.
you really need to know the person for years, to know the background, to know the person, right, physically, personally, and professionally, to see how far that person is compatible within your strategy, and how it will work for both sides. This is the most important part. And I missed that part. I missed that part in the beginning, and I really had a lot of impacts in some moments. I learned how to overcome it. I can teach today anyone how to overcome that. But of course, when you're not expecting it, it's really dramatic hard.
That's where
You
it's
know,
tough.
uh,
I agree. And Julio, you're based where? You're in London?
I'm in London. I'm in London. Yes, yes,
Gotcha.
yes.
Gotcha.
So what I learned is you need to have the proper people in place, and of course, you have to be beneficial for both. Win-win situation.
Yeah.
And the final part is, don't be the person whoever wants you to be. People need to like you the way you are, and how you work, and how you do things. So don't try to um, you know make please to other people. That's wrong. I learned that also, because in the end I try to please a lot of people, but then it doesn't work, because the actual work is not done really in such way. So in the end, you really need to know the compatibility between the people of the team and you, and to know how you can optimize the time, and of course have the right people in place, which means trust. You don't buy that with money. It's not about money, it's not about power. It's about just to have the right person, humble, honest, and that is proficient doing the work. And that's the most important part. And of course, that in an interview you won't see it. 45 minutes is not enough. And sometimes you need a specific profile. So my advice is, if you don't have the profiles and you don't have any idea or range, don't even start the project. I learned that with life, because I'm not going to struggle doing my commitment to a customer, saying that I'll fulfill something that I will not, because I don't have the whole team, because I'm not going to do the whole work myself. So I need to have a team in place. And if I don't have that specific team for that specific project, that today I'll say I cannot do it right now, because we are overlapping, a lot of projects along the way. I would need to set up a whole new team for this project, and I don't have people in mind for that now. So that's my advice I say to everyone, because people like to please and like to have a reputation in the market. You gain more reputation always being honest to everyone and say, I can advise you. I can tell you more or less how you should do or who you can reach. I have a lot of people that I can trust, that I can advise you, for you to guide you and to do the introduction there. But in this specific case, I will not be able to do it myself because I'll need to hire, specific team for this. And I don't have the trust. I say directly, I don't have the trust people in place for this project. And that's
Right.
it, because you need to have it. Because once you delegate it, they are representing you. If they don't know how to represent you and they don't know, there's not a full trust commitment in there and professionality, you will lose image. In the end, that's how it works. You know. So tell us a bit about during the scenarios that I've been talked to, how it has been to from yourself and within your team.
Yeah, you're saying sort of in terms of what? In terms of like the delegation?
Yeah, delegation and people around you, the circle, the trust, being honest, etc.
You
Yeah,
you have to have I don't think I can add more than you said because you said it perfectly. You have to have the right people around you. And it was interesting because I looked at a study. I heard this lady, she was talking about a study, whereas when you put a high performer in a room with a low performer, it actually reduces the high performer's performance significantly. And so it's interesting because you would think, okay, high performer, they'll still perform high, but put them with a low performer and look at the data. It's quite fascinating. If people look up high performer, low performer data, it goes back to culture. You have to have the right culture. For us, we have our Freedom Family Office and Wealthrive values, and those are the things we live by. Things like speak straight, teamwork, always do the right thing, do what's best for your client. We have this framework so we can all look back at it and say, hey, we know clearly the type of culture we represent here. And so you have to have the right team around you. I'm grateful that the team that we have that supports our businesses is phenomenal. We have such a great
right.
team that's bought into the culture, committed, very ownership mentality. Like everyone that works here is very ownership like it's their own business, and that's the best type of culture. So you hit it on the head. You got to have a really good team around you. It's like anything, you're probably a soccer fan. If you look at soccer or even basketball or football here, you put the right pieces of a team together to win a championship. The
Yeah.
wrong team, the wrong communication will not win a championship.
You just said it exactly correctly and in the same analogy. You can put the best player in the world in a team, but if it doesn't work as a team, that team it's nothing because the team is not produced by one person. It's
Yeah.
11. So
You can
that's
put Ronaldo in any team, and if they're not as a team collectively, bought in together and work, it's tough. And
yeah,
Ronaldo, how good he is, it's not like everyone is a Ronaldo. So
exactly. But even by him, I mean, he cannot run the whole game by himself.
exactly,
That's the whole thing. I mean, and people need to really have that analogy and the harmony to know how to work as a team because some people have really strong character, and it can be challenging for other people with softer character. So that it becomes that too.
yeah,
So, I mean, to have the perfect harmony, let's just say, from my experience in 20 years, to have the perfect harmony in the team that works correctly, everyone get along with each other. The characters go along with each other. It takes very long to build a team like that. I
yes,
mean, for me, it took ages, because it's very, very extremely hard. Because
agreed.
it's not about just the knowledge; it's about the character. Person needs to have the company hierarchy, the company ideology. He needs to know how he can work with other fellow colleagues the same way, communicate themselves. Because I had a lot of scenarios. I had people that didn't communicate at all. You just tell them what to do, and they work as machines, and they forget about they are working in a team, and they ignore everyone around them. It's like, come on. I had people, for example, that they just didn't get along because of the characters. Said we don't harmonize very much. I said, why is that? So I didn't really go along with the conversation. So I mean, you see, when you are so many years around in any business, you see more or less everything. More or less every situation will come through you,
Yeah,
and you learn from it. In the end, just by talking today I can tell you. But just by talking today to a person 10 minutes, I'll be able to know if this person can actually penetrate anywhere in the team, and will resolute or not, or will be carrying along with the rest of the team or not. But of course, to get into that stage, I had to pass all the experience I passed in my past to understand how it all works, how you achieve that information from the person in so short time, and how can you make people learn from each other, which is the most insightful thing, because this is not about just working as a team and build things. It's about, you will gain also personal knowledge for you, for your colleagues, and about every work we do, because each work that comes is new. Is new information. It's not going to be the same, especially in technology. It's so complex. I mean, for example, you can have an architecture in a certain way, and you can try to copy the same architecture in a different machine, but that machine has a millisecond delay, so that will have a totally different result in all the coding and everything, and it's exactly the same machine. So this is what I meant. People are exactly the same. Each person is a completely new world, and you just need to know how to combine all those worlds together as a universe. Let's just say in resume image. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, how do you see yourself within the next, let's just say, 5 6 years? I mean, how do you see yourself within what you're doing? Are you going to change a lot of things that you do? Are you planning to do a different strategy? What is your goal?
I think the goal is we want to be able to serve, 200 something plus families, business
Okay.
owners, entrepreneurs. So that would allow us to get to over $1 billion in assets under management. And that's a big goal for us. So when you think of strategy, you have to have the right infrastructure to be able to support that. So being able to have the right technology, all the right players in there, the strategy that is helping from investment management and tax strategy,
Right.
making sure our two businesses are growing consistently and predictably, and not getting left behind with technology. So we really want to be tech forward and make sure we're not left behind in the technology craze. So, we have this ambitious goal. We want to be the family office for entrepreneurs and business owners across the country, and that's sort of our goal. So if we can get to $1 billion under management, we're well on our way.
Wonderful. Great strategy. So, for people to know, where you guys based at in US?
So we're based in Florida, like the
Okay.
companies, but our employees are all across the world. So we have team members all through Florida. We have team members in Puerto Rico. We have team members in New York / Connecticut. I'm in Chicago, and we have a whole team in the Philippines as well. So we're
Okay.
ever since COVID, we've become effectively like a global firm. We're remote first, but team members are everywhere.
Amazing. Amazing. So, within all we talked, what would you advise for people that, for example, accountants that just started their business, or they just are entrepreneurs trying to get into professional life? According to your experience, what would be your advice to them?
So two things. If we're focusing on the accountant, if you're an accountant, I would think about how you can go the extra mile for clients. A lot of times you hear that people complain about their accountants and CPAs just checking the boxes and moving on and not making time. You really should treat the client like they are stars, like they're celebrities, because this is everything to them. If you have the right tax strategy, that can make a huge difference over a decade, over your career. So treating them like they matter. The challenge is I tell people, so what you have to be careful with when you have an advisor or an accountant, they think about you once a year because you do your taxes. If you're not a good tax strategist, you probably only do it once a year. Instead of, if you're proactive like us, you're looking at it every quarter. So they're meeting with you once a year. But the challenge is your life is all year. So you have different things that are happening in your business, in your family, in your life, in your estate planning. So I urge accountants to sit down with a client and make sure you're putting in the extra effort to truly understand their situation, not just check boxes, but proactively support them, not be reactive, but proactive. So that's the nature I'll give for accountants. Become proactive. Figure out how you can be there for your clients more, so you're not dealing with the reactive strategy. I would say for business owners, the big thing is is as a business owner, it is tough. Like I say it like we call them. Our founder Noah Rosenfarb wrote a book about slashing your taxes, and it's this book
Right.
about like the villain of taxes and the superheroes. The Batman are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are the heroes, not just in America, everywhere in the world. You're an entrepreneur. I'm sure in London you have many entrepreneur friends. I'm sure a lot of the consulting clients you have are entrepreneurs, and these people create jobs. They create like a future for people, but it is not an easy thing to do. You deal with cycles that change all the time. So all I will say as an entrepreneur is you always want to optimize and think about the future. Even if you're doing well, you kind of want to have a healthy sense of paranoia from a competition standpoint, because things can shift dramatically in the business world. So if you're staying humble as a business owner and understanding that, hey, I'm good, I'm great, but I'm humble because I
Yeah.
understand things can change, being conservative / humble will help you continually succeed. You see a lot of the times where the issues come for entrepreneurs and business owners is the ones that are not humble, and because they had a great year or a great quarter, they can just
Yeah.
treat the process like anything. It doesn't work like that. You have to be
Yeah.
consistent, you have to be humble, and you have to understand that it is a process. You take measured steps.
Yeah. And you just mentioned one thing which is very important, which is be equally and be humble to everyone, because you don't know what's going to happen in 1 week or 1 month, or how your strategy can change, or that future possible customer that you were trying to be rude or whatever, he might be taking you a big portfolio wallet account from really a big customer that might come in. So this is the thing, even if you are very busy, you should treat everyone equally all the time. You should have the same treatment to everyone, and this will give you the correct image and reputation and transmit what exactly you want to your customers to have from you. That good image, that you need help in this. This is the guy to do these things for you. And in the end, that's how you do it. It's not about just having a good year. Well, you don't know if the next year is going to be good too. I mean, you need that's the strategy can change.
And it's
This
not
is
just, yeah, I would also say it's not just like you should enjoy the wins. It shouldn't be like
yeah,
always paranoid like that. You should
yeah,
be proud of yourself, enjoy the
yeah,
wins of you crushing
yeah,
it and winning, celebrate those, enjoy it. It is a
yeah,
fun, amazing journey as an entrepreneur, but also
yeah.
just recognize, to your point, just being humble, conservative,
Yeah.
appreciative, and gratitude. Gratitude is a big theme that I kind of like to think about.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say better than that. So, Samir, amazing. We've been already 53 minutes. It's been passed so fast. I really enjoyed the conversation. It was awesome, man. You had a wonderful journey, and all your life story was really amazing. I'm truly impressed, what you achieved and what you guys done. So I would like to send a big congrats to you and your team.
Thank you.
Wishing you all the best. And my door is always open for a future episode if you guys want to notice thing, or if you have a new service or whatever. I'm always open to share the word. So I'm really thankful for the episode today. It was really enjoyable conversation, and I think many people will enjoy, as in technical aspects that you shared, and many people would learn, a lot from you guys, and what we talked about in this episode. So, having now arriving to the end, I always ask my guests to say a power message. So, what would be your power message today, Samir?
My power message for everyone across the world is sometimes life is not going to make sense. And life is going to be stressful, life is going to be tough. But if you remember who you are, never lose the confidence in yourself. Whatever's
Abs-
happening, never lose the confidence in yourself.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say better myself. So, with that, we leave it all for today. I hope you all enjoyed the episode. Samir, thank you so much for having your time joining us today. Appreciate it. So, all the best for you and your team. And that was all for today. Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Julio.